Hi everybody, welcome back to Hideaway Homestead. Today I'm going to be talking about bee equipment. We've had people ask us about keeping bees and getting into the beekeeping and what kind of equipment they need and what kind of money they need to spend and just several questions like that. So I thought I would just do a little video here today to show you some of the stuff that we use and some of the stuff that you'll need to have. Okay, first of all, you're going to have a smoker. This is a necessity. You have to have this. Unless you really like getting stung, this is a necessity. You have to have a smoker. The other thing you're going to have is a bee suit. They come in various sizes and colors, and this is a bee jacket. This is just the jacket. It actually has a hood, but I don't usually use the hood. I put the hood down when I wear it. And then, of course, the bee gloves. And these are gloves that keeps the bees from stinging you. A lot of people don't like to use them because they don't have as much dexterity with them on. I've done it both ways. Sometimes you will get stung if you're not wearing them. I got stung one time on my middle finger and it got me right on the knuckle. My finger swelled up so big that I couldn't even bend my finger anymore. So it makes it a little hard to use your hands when you're working the bees if you get stung and you're susceptible to swelling and that kind of thing. So to fix that, I just started wearing gloves. Like I said, I've done it both ways, and I prefer to wear the gloves just so I don't get stung and can't continue doing what I need to do with the bees. The other thing you're going to need is called a veil. This is actually a pith helmet. And this is the veil part, and it's got a screen front here and on the sides, and then it has this is actually the veil part right here that goes down and covers your neck and your shoulders, and then you have this long string here that goes around you and you tie it, and this keeps the bees from getting to you. Again, I've seen and known of some beekeepers who work bees and don't wear these, and to me, I don't think that's a very smart thing to do, because if they sting you on your face, especially if you get stung close to your eye somewhere, your eye is going to swell up and it's going to be closed and you're not going to be able to see what you're doing, kind of thing. So I prefer to wear a veil. For those of you who don't want to wear one, that is totally up to you. The other thing that we use is called a bee brush. You won't really need one of these until you start extracting honey, and I'll show you why in just a minute. What I have done is I have gotten a bag. I just got this bag. I think Carol got it from somewhere. I don't remember where it came from. And I put all of my bee stuff in here. I keep quite a variety of stuff in here, really. I keep newspaper, and the reason for the newspaper is so I can shred up small pieces, put the newspaper in the bottom of the smoker, light the newspaper, and then I use hay. I put the hay in on top of that to get the smoker lit. You can use pretty much anything in the smoker as long as it is cool smoke. If you're blowing out hot smoke onto your bees, you're going to make them mad and they're going to come after you, I promise. So that's one of the things that I use. The other thing, and I think it's in here, this is just an empty bucket that I had, and I put hay in this, and that's what I move my hay, keep my hay in, so that whenever I'm ready to light my smoker, I just grab a handful of this, stuff it in the smoker, and light it. The best tool you're gonna have is the Hive tool. These come in different shapes. I've got both here. The most common one you're going to see is going to be like this shape. They both work, and I've used both, actually I have both, and so I do use them both. My preference is this one, and it's called a J hook, and it's because it's got this little hook right here. It looks like a J, and that is, for me, a really good thing, and I'll show you why in just a minute. I use one of these lighters to light the hay with in the smoker. These are real handy. And what else do I have that I use? If you want, you can get a tool like this, and this is for lifting the frames out of the hive. It comes in handy, especially when you're pulling honey out of the super, and they get stuck in there. Sometimes the bees will stick them down pretty good and you can't get them out. This is a good thing that it really grips it and you can pull it out. This is something, you don't have to have this. This is just something that I added a couple years ago, more or less as an experiment to see how it worked, and I like it pretty good, so I kept it. Oh, let's see, what else have I got in my little bag of goodies here? I always keep a roll of duct tape with me. You never know when you're going to need this. I use it mostly for if I've got, I don't know, maybe a hive or something that the lid is loose on. You can just wrap some duct tape around it and stick it down to hold it in place, kind of thing. You can also use it to put around the bottoms of your pants legs to keep the bees from crawling up your pants leg, if that's the case. If you happen to get some bees on the ground while you're working them, they will find you, and the next thing you know, they're crawling up under your pants leg and you don't know they're there until you feel them. So that's good for that. All right, like I said, there are several ways that you can light your smoker. If you are somewhere where there are pine needles, you can use pine needles. You can use newspaper, hay. I use hay because we have an abundance of it here because of the animals, and so I've got hay readily available. Leaves, oak leaves, or any kind of leaves that you find on the ground that you can rake up and use. Again, as long as whatever you're using is cool smoke, you have to make sure that it's cool. So what I do whenever I light my smoker, after I get it lit and I start puffing it and make sure it's lit real good, what I will do is I'll puff some smoke and put my hand in front of it. If that smoke feels cool to my hand, it's going to feel cool to the bees. If it's hot and it burns your hand, don't use it. Get something else, okay? So let me show you what we do here also with this. This is called a nuke box, short for nucleus. And what this is, this holds 5 frames. And what this is it's also can be used as a catch box. That's the reason for the hole in the front right here. You can put 5 frames in here. This one doesn't have any in it right now, but you can put 5 frames in this, and you can set this out somewhere, usually in the spring, whenever there's swarms going on, and you can use a pheromone that you can buy for bees and spray it or put it inside this. And if there are bees flying around looking for a place to go, and they smell this, they'll go in there, and then maybe, if you're lucky, they will come in to here and set up camp inside this thing, and you'll have a free swarm of bees that you can put into a hive when they get big enough. Okay, this is the brood box, we call it. This is the hive. This particular one holds 10 frames. They do make them in an 8 frame. I prefer the 10, and whichever is your preference is fine. It's totally up to you. We put the frames in here, and this is what they call a foundation. This is just a plastic piece of plastic with the shape of the comb on here, and it is actually wax coated. And the reason for that is because the bees can sense that wax smell, and they will come to it and they'll start building their comb in the shape of the holes that are already on here. And so that's what we use for this. It has an entrance, which is right here, and this is the landing area, the front porch we call it sometimes. And they land, when they fly in, they land on here, and then they run inside the hive, and then they go up into the frames and put whatever they've got. They collect nectar, they collect water, they collect pollen, and those sort of things, and then they go in and put it into whatever frame it needs to go in. Once you get bees in here and you have a queen that has been mated and she's starting to lay eggs, then you're going to want to put one of these in. It's called a queen excluder. The queen is usually, if she's full of eggs, she's too fat to go between these little slots here. And so you would put this right on here, like that, and then you would put your lid on top of that. The worker bees are small enough that they can go between these wires and get up into, if you've got a super on here, and I'll show you that in a minute, they can get up into there and do whatever they're doing with the honey. But until then, until they get all these frames full of eggs and honey and whatever they're putting in these in here, you don't need that. You just need to put a lid on it. Once that gets full and they start to collect honey and start to put honey in the hive, then you're going to want to put what this is called a super, and this would go right on top of this. This is where this queen excluder comes in handy, because it keeps her from being able to get up into this super and lay eggs. Because if she can get up here, she will. If she can get up here and lay eggs, she'll put eggs in these too. You don't want her to be in here putting eggs in here, because this is where you get your honey from. So you've got frames in here, and this one is what we call already drawn out, which means it's already got wax on it. The bees have already built wax on here, and so this is ready to for them to put the honey in. Again, when we first start with these, we start with a foundation. There's nothing on this, it's just a plastic foundation, and we put these into the hive like so, and then the worker bees come up here and they start building the comb, and when they build the comb, then it looks like this with the comb, and we call that drawing it out whenever they build the comb. And then whenever they get it built out to where it should be, they start to put honey in it. So then whenever you get ready to extract your honey, I usually try to wait until these things are at least 80% full of honey and capped before I pull them out to extract the honey. So then what you would do is you would put this super on top of this, and then the lid goes right back on top of here. So now you've got a complete hive. The bees will work in here and do whatever needs to be done. They'll go up into this super and put the honey in if that's what they're doing. And the queen will stay down here in the bottom box, and all she does is crawls around and lays eggs in those empty cells. The bees are cleaners. They clean inside the cells, they clean them out, they clean the hive out. If something gets into the hive, it doesn't belong there, they will actually haul it outside and drop it on the ground. If one of the bees happens to die inside the hive, and that happens, they will do the same thing with that. They will haul that dead bee out, and we've seen them do it. We've seen them grab that dead bee and they fly out of the hive with it, and they fly to wherever they want, however far they want to go with it, and then they drop it on the ground. So they keep the hive very, very clean inside. It usually stays a constant temperature. I believe it's 96 degrees or somewhere around there. They will actually put some water in some of the cells. It works like an air conditioner. Think of an air conditioning unit. They will put some of the water inside some of the cells, and then if it gets too hot in there, they will actually fan their wings over that water, and it blows the cool air off of that water into the hive, and it cools the hive down. So that's one of the ways that they keep the hive at a certain temperature. Same thing in the winter time. In the winter time, if it gets real cold, they will get into what they call a cluster. They'll get into the center of the brood box usually, and they will get around the queen. She's usually right in the middle. They'll get around her. They always protect her. They get around her, and they fan their wings to keep the temperature, the constant temperature inside, so that it doesn't drop and get too cold in there. If it gets too cold, they'll die. Usually in the winter time, if it's really cold, the only time the bees will come out of the hive is to go to the bathroom. They'll fly out, do whatever they have to do, and they fly back in, and that's all they do. The queen doesn't usually lay any eggs in the winter because it's too cold, and then in the spring, when things start to warm up again, then she will start to lay again. They also have in the hive, besides the queen, there's the male bee. It's called the drone. All he does is eat honey and mate with the queen. That's it. That's all his job is. And then there are the worker bees, and they all have a different job to do. So that is just a quick rundown of what we do with bees and beekeeping. If you have any questions, leave us a comment. If you're a beekeeper already and you've experienced something that you want to pass along to us and whoever else is watching, put that in the comments too. So, thanks for joining me today on Hideaway Homestead.